This meeting is being recorded.
So, welcome to Wisdom at the Well, and this is part of our Fierce Awakenings series. This is another interview with one of our beautiful authors. So, it's so good that, we're all here. And Nicole, this is Nicole Fabian, who wrote chapter 5, I believe.
6.
6. Okay. I'm not very
Mhm.
good with the numbers there, as you can tell. I've got the book right in front of me. And Nicole, like, welcome to Wisdom at the Well. Thank you for saying yes to this invitation. And yeah, I mean, how we know each other is through the book and coming together. And in fact, we were both invited in by the same person, weren't we, Roxy? So I think that I know for me, I felt such a resonance with you from the first time we met. And I'm sure that Roxy inviting us both into this beautiful container was a part of that. So, I would like for you to introduce yourself, just an initial introduction, maybe about who you are, what brought you into this book, and then we'll just kind of go from there. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful. So I'm Nicole Fabian. I was born and raised in Rochester, New York. I still live here. I am a special education teacher by trade for over 20 years, and my last few years of my career was a behavior consultant. I dove into the intuitive world and began to explore the gifts that I was given as a psychic medium, and I also became a Reiki practitioner. So, in addition to working with students with special needs, I also had a business where I was an intuitive and would do readings or Reiki for other people and hold space in that healing capacity. And coming together to write about my chapter, I really wanted to talk about my journey in the education field and how my intuitive abilities and a special relationship I had with one of my students led me to thinking differently about how the education system works and what is my role. I always, as a young girl, had a calling to be a teacher, and that shifted, and we can talk about that a little bit more. But the reason I wanted to write my chapter was to really tell people the story I had with a student that changed my life.
Yeah, yeah. And well, you know what? I would just love to read a couple of your paragraphs out loud. Are you good with that?
I would love that. Thank you.
Okay. It's the final chapter, the final paragraphs of your chapter. My guides and angels, including Anthony, who is your student, get frustrated with me. I get a vision of them shaking their heads and taking deep, exasperated breaths. They tell me this is not the end of teaching. You are a teacher. You will always be a teacher. You have bigger and greater things to do. They tell me greater things will come once I take the leap. One day, as if to confirm that I received an unexpected message during an online meditation class. As I was sitting in silence after a beautiful sound bath, a clear message came forward. Spirit said to my soul, it's time to move forward. Let go of the rope. Release, trust. Release, surrender, trust. This has become my mantra. I want to complete that there because that's such a poignant part of your story. And what I'd love to ask for you to share. So, release, surrender, trust. How has that been part of your journey since then? And what's happened, like almost like from your writing this story, and what's been next for you? And we'll come back to the teacher part because it's just so much who you are. But let's start with the end of your chapter and as it weaves the story for you.
Yeah, well, I have this highlighted in my book as well. It's interesting that you picked this to start with because this has been the part of my chapter that I keep coming back to and reading over and over again. Since I wrote this, I had an injury that happened that has kept me, disabled, not able to work and participate in the job that I had. And I've been recovering. And during my recovery, I came back and I looked at that part and I said, my gosh, I didn't let go. I didn't trust and let go. And I stayed in an environment that I knew wouldn't best serve me. And I was really angry at myself. And I'm going to share a beautiful moment that happened in the hospital. I was hospitalized for 16 days, and it's very lonely. Those nights when everyone leaves after visiting hours. I mean, I had so many beautiful people come and visit me during the day, but those nighttime hours are scary. And you sit by yourself. And I had this beautiful moment where angels surrounded me. And whether you're a believing person in this or not is not for me to know or understand. I'm just going to share my experience
Good.
because I felt these beautiful angels surrounding me, and they said, we've got you. This wasn't to punish you. We've got you. You need to trust us and allow us to lead the way. It's going to be a very long journey, but we've got you.
Mm-hmm.
And I come back to that feeling over and over again when I feel alone and scared, and I feel my spiritual team supporting me. And not this incident didn't happen to punish me. This incident happened to help me understand that my intuition is so strong and right on. Yes, trust it and honor it, and don't worry about what it impacts other people. Like, obviously I want to live a life of love where I'm always being loving and kind to other people, and I don't want to make rash decisions that would harm anyone. But getting the message to move on wouldn't have harmed anyone. I just was too afraid to let go. And when we clench on and we hold on tight, I have that vision of someone like picking my fingers up one by one to help me release. And, unfortunately, this led to a significant injury that's impacted my life in a big way. Even like my speech is off, and being on here is a little bit nerve-wracking with my I've been in speech therapy, so I'm very proud where I've come from, and that I'm on here and brave enough to be here.
Yes.
Um, but the injury has brought me closer to my spiritual team, and to say, okay, how do I forgive myself for this? Can you support me in forgiving myself for this? And to surrender and trust and just flow with whatever lies forward. Because right now I have no idea what the future holds.
Right.
I just know I want to continue to spread my light and love to other people.
In your chapter, you talked about asking Anthony for your forgiveness too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Anthony, yeah, Anthony was a student that I had 10 years into my career, and I ended up befriending his family, and they're still dear, dear friends of mine. His mom, or his stepmother, and his father, and I have great, immense love for his mother as well, and his brother. And I'm lucky to be in their lives still. But Anthony tragically lost his life to an overdose, and I write about that experience with him in my chapter. And um, I came into the world of teaching. This is what is interesting, is in seventh grade. Yeah, I believe it was seventh grade. In the chapter, it's clear. I volunteered in a class during my study hall with students with traumatic brain injuries. And I had never worked with students with a disability ever in my life. And now I have a traumatic brain injury. And it's like, whoa, talk about full circle moment. You go back. And so as a teacher, I got the call from right then on. I wanted to be a teacher from volunteering in middle school. And I thought I was going to be a superhero. I thought I was going to go in and work with the most challenging students that no one wanted to work with, and love on them and support them and give them all the care and love that I had in the world, and to educate them as best as I could and protect them from the things within this, just the things that don't go well in our education system. I wanted my classroom to be a safe, loving place. And that was my motto. It's going to feel like a home for people, and my students are going to learn and feel safe and loved in my classroom. And when Anthony passed away, I dropped to my knees. I actually found out while I was at work. I dropped to my knees, and I was like, I'm so sorry I didn't save you. I thought my love, my care could save you. And it's he like, get over yourself, Mrs. Fabian. This isn't about what you. I had my own life path, and he's very funny with me, and he kind of puts me in my place, and that's my ego. My ego wants to save the children and make my everything perfect and wonderful, and I need to set that aside and just, what does my soul want to do? What's my soul purpose? My sole purpose, part of it was loving Anthony and going through that experience with him. But he had his own life path, and I'm not God. I can't play God and save people, even though I want to. The
Yeah.
human in me wants to. So, yeah, I hope I didn't go on too much of a tangent, but
No, there's so many threads in there and so many questions I want to ask because going from that and coming back to you are a teacher. You are always a teacher. I can imagine in seventh grade, and especially while you were in the system, and even though you were operating a little bit outside of the system, you probably still saw yourself as a teacher in a certain way, in a certain like definition and identity with it. And this is what teacher looks like. So this is my question is, how has your relationship or understanding of what being a teacher is shifted or expanded out of both your experience with Anthony and your experience with your head injury over the last year or two?
yeah, I love this question. I went into teaching also for the familiarity. Like, that's our life in early years. We go to school, we have our schedule from 7 to 3 or whatever, and we go to class and the bell rings and it keeps us organized. And I needed that stability, I think. And I
Mhm.
needed to reparent um, some of my younger selves that were within me. So as a teacher, I loved the routine. I loved having my classroom and setting it up and having it ready and organized for the year, and just making it really homey and having it be a reflection of me. And when people came in, knowing this is Mrs. Fabian's classroom. And I loved educating kids, but I was never really, I mean, this is horrible to say, but I was really never into the content. I didn't.
I love it.
I mean, my students passed the Regents exams and all that, but I struggled with exams as a child myself, and I don't buy into how we test children. I really feel like they have so many more gifts to give, and I wanted them to be able to like show those gifts throughout. So as a teacher, like we would try to build that in, like how can I allow them to, we'd have like Thanksgiving feasts, and like we would go and donate toys to families, and I just really wanted them to be good humans on the earth that could celebrate one another, come together, and those were the moments that I loved the most, rather than me celebrating that they passed their Regents exams. And
Right.
early on, you don't know so much of the poor students that I had early on in my career, but anyway, I got really good at preparing them for the exams and having them pass as my years went on, and they did well. And I actually took after Anthony had passed, I just knew I didn't really want to. It was hard for me to teach, especially I was teaching students with behavioral issues, and I just missed him a lot and wanted to do something different. So I worked with students with autism and absolutely loved that. And I wanted to challenge myself and become a behavior consultant, because I know students' behavior, and I really wanted to dive more deep into like repairing nervous system and knowing why behavior is rooted in how we can support and change it. So I became a behavior consultant in my last few years of teaching. And then, you're not, I had beautiful relationships one-on-one with some of my students. And I do know I made an impact, but wasn't as good because I didn't have like so many kids that I could see all at once. And like, then I had to see how other educators may have been not doing what I would have wanted the students to experience. And I was like, oh dear, like what am I into? This institution of education does not work well for me right now. And how can I do things differently? And so as a
Can I just pause and say, I want to ask you a question. So you were doing everything you could to operate within the system, but ultimately the system didn't work for you.
no, it didn't align with me anymore.
Yeah.
And I I guess I didn't want to abandon the kids behind in it. Like, how dare me say this doesn't feel right for me, and then I'm
Yeah.
going to leave you.
Mm,
And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to leave them. I didn't know how to.
I guess you had to leave it through an injury, huh?
Unfortunately, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the unknown could make me go down a path of like, no, like I wish it was on my terms, and why did that happen? I could do all that, but I'm gonna choose to let go and let the ride
Yeah.
show me where I'm supposed to be. Because in the before the injury, I was finishing up a book. I'm working with highly sensitive students, and I haven't published it yet. It's basically almost all written. I just wasn't in a place brave enough to like do the steps to move forward with it. And I also think maybe this injury will help me do a better job of it, because guess who is highly sensitive? Me. Guess who's been
Right?
masking all through her life, but also now has a traumatic brain injury and has all these sensory needs and has all these needs that, like, it's totally incredible, because now I use a lot of the stuff I use with my students on myself now. And I go to my rehab and my therapy, and they'll say, "Oh, like, let's do box breath, or let's do this sensory movement and things." And I was a mindfulness coach for the district as well, and I am yoga certified, and I would teach my students and the staff like mindfulness. And so now I'm using all of it on myself in a very purposeful way as a student. Like
Yeah.
I and I was beating myself up in the beginning with rehab. I was being really mean to myself. And one of these beautiful care providers said, "Would you talk to your students this way?" And I was like, "Oh, no, definitely not." And they said, "I want you to imagine you're your student.
Oh,
And what would you say to that student?" And start talking to yourself that way. And so that was something beautiful I learned within the hospital to take home with me. And, like, now it's kind of cool. Like, yeah, I'm teaching myself. I'm using all the expertise I've gotten through the year and teaching myself.
wow. Yes. And I bet you never imagined that would be, there's kind of two things coming to me. One is that that would be part of your teaching, but that teaching yourself would actually evolve and expand your teaching.
Mhm.
Like there's something incredibly beautiful in that.
Yeah.
Not easy, but like I can imagine that you're learning so deeply what you teach in a way that is so beyond conceptual, like intellectual uh, theories. Like you're in it. You're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have that personal experience, you have so much more care and compassion for others.
Yeah.
So now it's like I wish I could go back, and in ways I do. I set intentions and prayers, and I send um apologies to former students where I didn't get their sensory needs.
Yeah.
But then I also celebrate, like, how cool you were so intuitive and knew that this would help this student as well before you even went through this. And now that like, I have a really hard time with noise now.
Mhm.
And, a lot of my students wanted headphones and things. So I have these really cool headphones that I wear when I'm out in public now. And I'm like, darn it, I wish I had these for my kids. Then they wouldn't get made fun of with the big things on their head, and they could just put them in, and everyone thinks you got cool piercings in your ear. Like, I'm learning so much that I would love to be able to go back and share. And you know what? I'm keeping a list of things that work well for me, in hopes that maybe one day I share it with other people and it can help them either be better teachers or heal as an individual,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh my God.
But my guides say, no, you have to wait and heal yourself right now. Right now is all about you. So not going too fast through it, but I
Right.
really do want to be mindful that I do hold on to this experience, and that maybe it can not just help me but help other people too.
Yeah. I mean, given who you are, I have no doubts that you're going to be helping other people. And that you've been like, so I'm going to kind of bring this back into the spiral path, right? Because
Mhm.
at the time, I can, in fact, Jen and I were talking about this morning is that, the going in on the spiral path, and then there's also the going out. And when you wrote this story, did you feel that you were already kind of in an inward phase, or were you like, where were you on your spiral path, and where did you think you were going on it? And
Mhm.
so there's multi layers of questions in here. And then with the injury, how did the trajectory within the spiral change? But beyond that, how has the spiral path held you on this journey? How has it held you? Like, yeah, I'm going to simplify it there and see if the question goes anywhere because there's something, I
Yeah.
mean, where I'm coming from in the question to be transparent is I can imagine that you had no idea that this was coming in and that your life was going to get radically, dramatically redirected. Even
Yeah.
with your request to do something that you thought you would do it a very different way.
Yeah. Honestly, when I was writing this, I thought once the book was published, I'm like, oh, you're going to launch. You're going to go into your own business. You're going to, be an intuitive and Reiki practitioner. You're going to walk away from that system and you're going to make change and better change for the education system. And I thought I was ready to launch. And that's the part that, and my husband the other day, he said, we could constantly talk about the what ifs.
Mm,
What if, what if, what if? And so the opposite happened kind of instead of going out and expanding in that spiral, I spiraled right back in. And I've been in this beautiful protective cocoon um, and getting the nourishment and the nutrients I need and trusting eventually I'll expand out and I'll be wiser, more grounded, and better prepared for when I do launch.
yeah.
And that's my prayer and hope is that, oh, you thought, and nope, we're going to do a detour. And I'm happy that I'm choosing to be more positive about it instead of
Mm.
angry or resentful, sad. Like,
It's
I
so
don't have
easy,
time for that. I don't want to live like that.
right?
I
Yeah, and
just want to.
yeah, one of the things I talk about is everything that happens to us happens for us, right? And you can go, yeah, but not here. Like there's just no way that this, but what you're speaking to is that actually this has been for you and that you're choosing to receive the gifts from it and allow it to open you up to what's next rather than maybe what you thought was next and how next, but that this your spiral path is taking you somewhere maybe different than you thought. It's going
Mhm.
to look different. There may be elements that are the same, but there's going to be something different in it that you hadn't included before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be much more beautiful than I ever would have imagined.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Another question keeps coming up. So you talk about being an intuitive and a Reiki healer and that really deeply spiritual connected side of you. And then you've got your teacher that's been in the system, and you try to reject that side and move fully into this side, right? Is there something about bringing the two together and it being both and if that at all resonates with you, is how can you imagine weaving these two in some ways polar opposite approaches together?
Yeah. I believe that can happen and it will in some capacity.
Yeah.
Um, but I also know that me doing too much forward thinking and trying to
Mm,
make something happen
right.
doesn't serve my best interest.
Right.
So instead of creating what I would want to say, like old me would be like, oh yeah, I have this book I'm going to publish and I want to create this and this and this.
Right?
And now I'm like, okay, but I have this brain injury. I can't write. I can't even be on the computer for long periods of time. Like I have all this stuff that impairs me from doing the work that I had. And I keep hearing just trust and rest, trust and rest. And it's like I'm gonna ride the boat down the river and see what ends up coming, because I've worked so hard my entire life. Since I was a young girl, I had a job, like at 12, 11, 12 years old, I've worked. And right now it's like you need to rest and allow it to unfold. So my hope, like, well, no, I don't even have a hope. I trust that I have something bigger waiting for me that's going to be much more beautiful than I could ever imagine. And I hope and I know that if we were to talk maybe in 3 years, I could be able to share some of the beautiful ways my life unfold. But right now, I know I can't do that part yet.
Yeah. I love your answer. And 3 years will be our 5-year anniversary. So let's make sure we have another conversation. So
Yeah.
just to kind of close and complete this interview, being 2 years out from the book, being with everything that's happened for you and to you, what does, whoops, I've got the book upside down. What does
No, you didn't.
Fierce
Yeah.
Awakenings mean to you now? Like what are you
Mm.
present to in Fierce Awakenings, calling in courage and confidence to walk life's spiral path?
Well, this seems like it's kind of like my chapter to what I've been going. Like this part of my life is the title. Like talk about a fierce awakening.
Yes.
I wish maybe it happened in a gentler way. But I've been called to be courageous and confident and walk this path. And like I had to learn to walk and talk again. And each step I've taken,
Like literally, you've had to learn to walk again and speak again.
yeah.
I'm just really
And
taking that in.
yeah. And who knew? Like, talk about a fierce awakening, going from being this. I get frustrated when they're like, "Oh, what were you like before?" I'm like, "Well, listen to my voicemail message. That's how my voice sounded before." And then, like, could you do? I was like, I was doing a headstand for goodness sake during yoga. I was like, I'm not the most like tiny person in the world, but I am a fit, able body. And now I have trouble walking into a store. Like it's just, but I'm walking. I'm not wheelchair bound. I don't need my walker anymore. I am making steps in the right direction, and I need to celebrate those moments. And that calls in courage and confidence. For me to be brave enough to walk into a store independently is very, very scary. But the spiral path and knowing all of you women that created this with me and knowing your stories and your strength, you've modeled for me what it means to be just a wise, strong, capable, beautiful person. And I'm surrounded by amazing people that encourage me every day. And I still hold your hands. Each and every person in here is part of my life.
Mhm.
And this book changed my life for the better. If I didn't have this title in front of me or this chapter to look back at, I don't know if I'd be as optimistic about things and be able to look at the gift, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you that have your chapters in here, for Jen for bringing us all together, for Roxy knowing the two of us and knowing that we had something to share. Look at us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep looking at this title and help me on my journey, see where I end up.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that feels like the perfect place to complete this interview. And is there anything more you want to say before we turn off the...
Just for people to listen to their inner knowing and to trust. And if, there's days where we don't beat yourself up over it. Just be thankful that you have that gift and continue to trust yourself, because the person that knows you best is you.
Yes.
So quiet that outside noise and just stay within your heart and your soul and live that way.
Beautiful. Oh, Nicole, thank you. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you